you today. So, there was an update from Raylee Rukavina Wells um, on Halloween night. And I actually saw it like right after I got off the live stream that I was doing Halloween night, Thursday night, and I saw it and I wanted to cover it then, but I was like not about to do a whole nother live stream that night and I had shit to do this weekend. And so we're here now. And so fucking we're going to go ahead and cover that. And she talks about what's happening on the legal side. I don't want to do a spoiler. You probably already saw it if you're already keeping up with this. But, obviously a lot of people aren't happy with what's been happening with that. So we'll see. And then after that, I have some thoughts on PR on Raylee as well as Casze. And then we'll primarily be focusing on Casze with the PR issue. And I have a little improvement plan for Casze I figure we could go over. And then last but not least, we're going to react to lecture 4. So link in the description, and every time I do the how to start a startup playlist video thing, I've been linking 2 playlists in the description of the video. The one that has Y Combinator in the title, that's the one that goes directly to the Stanford playlist with just the Stanford lectures. And then the one that says commentary and reaction in the title, that's with my commentary and reaction that I've done so far. And so those are the 2 how to start a startup playlists that are linked in the description of this video. Today we're going to do lecture 4 of that, which is building product, talking to users, and growing. And I actually did not look up her last name, how to say it, so I feel bad about that. But it's from Adora Cheung, I think might be how you pronounce. I'm not sure if I said that right. Cheung. I am so sorry. I don't think I said that right. Fucking but so yeah. So she's going to be doing the lecture that we're going to react to today. We're going to be obviously watching that 2 times speed. And yeah, the reason I've been doing the how to start a startup playlist is I originally saw it. I think I've been repeating this, but whatever, fuck it. I originally watched it about 10 years ago when I was just starting out in business. Why isn't my captioner working? What the fuck? I said captioner. God, fuck this thing. I said I originally saw the damn video, the damn playlist 10 years ago. Fucking back in the day when I fucking started out, and like at the time, all of it was pretty helpful for me, even though I didn't agree, and I still don't, with certain things that are said in terms of like value alignment and human rights, and I just don't like some of the fucking people that I feel like they idolize in the context of the conversations of this playlist. But I still feel like it has a lot of helpful advice, for the most part for people starting out in business. But then I also wanted to see like how helpful it was, and if there, and what have I processed now, because when I saw it the first time, I didn't have enough experience. Even if I disagreed with certain things on value alignment, I didn't have enough experience to articulate the issues I had with things or know better if there were issues with certain things that were said. Versus now, I'm looking at all of this again and I'm seeing how well did this age for me, And some things didn't age well that has nothing to do with me. It's just a matter of like technology, For example, I forgot which lecture. I think it was lecture number 2, where the dude had said something along the lines of that if you were working remotely, it would not be possible for you to have a sustainable startup. That did not age well. Things like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that one, like that literally, like I don't think, maybe he had a point with the limitations of technologies and tools in the context of the time period he was used to working in, but I feel like even then, the technologies for what we need now to do remote work were in development. They just weren't perfected. And I feel like even that statement at the time wasn't in alignment with, what's possible. So I feel like he himself set those, like, it's not that it wasn't possible, it's that he had those limitations on himself. You know what I'm saying? Or something. But like that didn't age well. For example, and that had nothing to do with what I think on social issues or value alignment. That's just the fact of how technology has evolved and the workforce has evolved, in my opinion, right? But then, like, some of the things are a matter of value alignment. Like, for example, they really suck Mark Zuckerberg's dick, metaphorically speaking, and like, they're really pro, like, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. You know what I'm saying? Um, in this playlist that we're reacting to. And so I was never really on board with a lot of that shit in terms of the way they idolize what I feel could be people who monopolize certain industries potentially and exploit the labor of others in order to profit. But that's just my opinion. So fucking you know what I'm saying though? Like like I've always felt that way about these things, but then like other issues where it came to understanding like how does the advice that they give on starting up actually apply to starting up? Because I was just then starting up and I didn't know what I was doing, and you know what I mean? And in some ways no human ever really knows what we are doing, right? But fucking it was just like this like thing where it's just like I wasn't able, so that's what we've been doing now. It's just like going through and then processing like, okay, now that I'm in business, how do I feel about this lecture, right? And so, I think it's helpful for people in all walks of life. Like if you aren't in business, but everybody has to work for the most part, right? Or we are all impacted by businesses as consumers. I think it helps, people that engage with businesses figure out what type of businesses we want to interact with or work with or buy from. And then it helps for people who are doing business to better decide what type of business owners we want to be. You know what I'm saying? So, and that could be any type of business from whether you're in the arts, music industry to whether you're like a lawyer, you know what I mean, or a dentist. Like, and I don't think that the healthcare or legal industry should be capitalized off. I'm just speaking to the constructs of the reality that we live in. You know what I mean? Right? Okay. Alright, anyway, fucking, so I'm gonna roll my fucking intro and then we're gonna do this bitch. We're gonna do the Raylee shit, then the PR shit, and then the lecture shit. Alrighty. Hi, my name is Lexi, aka Deaf Child. I'm born deaf, hard of hearing. Deafness runs in my family genetically. Speech is not fully accessible to me. My team was one of the top teams between 2020 and 2024 in New Orleans and Louisiana. I began doing business as Deaf Child in 2013, marketing 2011, and sales 2009. I've earned 50 plus certifications in marketing and sales. And I have my Bachelor of Science from Loyola University, New Orleans, with a music industry studies major and a business administration minor. Visit my site at noladeafchild.com. So first we're going to start off with Raylee's update on the legal situation and everything that she's been talking about with that. And before we do, just a quick reminder, this video, is partly sponsored by Ink by Casze Tattoo out of Pasadena, Texas. So totally go check them out. Get a tattoo if you're near Houston, Texas. So, now with fucking Raylee, we're just gonna react. I'm gonna just let you see what she says, and we'll just react as we go. Unfortunately, this does not have the caption, so I gotta do this thing that doesn't fucking show up for some fucking reason, and the bitch about this every fucking time. Life is hard. All right, let's do it.
This is the Dress Saga update, and
This is pretty low for me. I'm gonna turn the desktop audio mixer up as far as it will go. Make sure my volume is up here. I'll turn my computer volume up, but yeah, it's pretty low for me. Sorry about any discrepancies in the volume here.
it's spooky. That was so dumb. This might ruffle some feathers, honestly. Since everything's settled down, it's been now about 2 months since my wedding. There really hasn't been much communication. The only communication that has happened since the original video was posted on Friday, August 23rd, there's been no communication other than...
So when I was first watching and I'm thinking, and I'm saying at this point, I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, if you have an actual legal case with someone, you really shouldn't be having conversations with them, for the most part, unless you, like, for maybe if you are going through a divorce, but you have a kid together and you need to co-parent, you're still going to need to have some sort of communication about your fucking kid or kids, for example, right? So in certain legal cases, there are reasons that you have to communicate, right? Like, I get that, but for the most part, if you are at a point where you have a legal case with somebody, you really don't need to be talking to them if you can help it at all. So when I first saw this, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, maybe they're like, maybe that's a good thing. Like, legally, she shouldn't be reaching out. Neither of them should be communicating if there's going to be like a legal case. So when I first see this, I'm thinking, okay, maybe something's happening with a court case. Wouldn't that be great, right? Right? Right?
me sending a cease and desist and her sending me a DocuSign screenshot that had other amendments put on it that I never signed.
So the DocuSign screenshot was never signed. So I wonder if why would Sandera respond with another amended contract? And we still don't even know what the first amended contract said or whatever, like what is this confused? This is just like, what the fuck? It doesn't surprise me though. I believe it happened because if y'all saw the emails, text messages, and DMs I got.
I would like to get this situation handled and potentially get a refund, but I really don't see that happening. Right now, it seems like the resolution for us is just silence. So if you guys have any other questions, you can pop them down below. Happy Halloween.
I was trying to fucking pause it. I liked it. Oops. I hate when I do that. Anyway, yeah, she's literally just saying the resolution is silence. Like, does this mean no legal action? She didn't explicitly say that no legal action is happening, but something about this just makes me feel like, I'm like, is there even a court case? Are you even trying to take legal action? I'm sure they did seek the advice of an attorney, but I'm wondering is what if the attorneys don't think the case is worth enough to go after? Because $6,000, isn't a whole lot to an attorney on a case where it's not necessarily guaranteed. And the reason the case wouldn't be guaranteed would be because of the fact where it was only partially paid for and it wasn't returned. And so and then there were some issues, like, where the things I've been saying would be reasons that the case would be weakened. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not you agree ethically or morally with everything, right? Like, I'm just speaking my opinion, like, reasons an attorney would not take the case, right? Or, like, because I'm just like, so, because it's just like, is there not going to be a court case then? So I would have been looking, like, regularly, like, Raylee Casze online to see if I can find some sort of court documents regarding them. But I honestly, from this video and the fact that I haven't been able to find anything, even though I know can take time for legal things to happen, So that could be a thing too. But now I'm totally wondering, just like, it's just not even happening. Like, that kind of, if it does happen, I'm going to cover the fuck out of it. But I could see it not happening because it might not be worth it. Like, you know what I mean? Um, if that makes sense. But yeah, fucking, so the comments, obviously, very pro Raylee. Everyone's talking about how they're rooting for her, blah, blah, blah. So glad she's doing so well. But then most people do want, um, seem to want Sandera sued. So one person said you definitely need your money back and the money you spent on flight and hotels. Sue her. Another person said, don't let this scandalous woman get away with this. She needs to learn a lesson for the blatant lies. Someone else said, why not sue for defamation? And then someone else said, suing and winning doesn't mean she will collect. Suing scamming degenerates doesn't equal payout. Someone else said, seriously? Someone said, she owes you all your money back. Someone else said, the fact that she had a GoFundMe put up where people sent money. Yeah, she better give you that refund or I'd lawyer up, girl. Somebody said, girl, sue her. Someone said, F that, she needs to get a lot of money back to you. Someone said, did you end up sending it back? If not, then I can tell you when I saw the video of them manhandling your dress and a model, it would be easy to lose some jewels. Somebody else said, I want to come to, go to get her do her hair. Okie dokie. Someone said, you deserve justice here. Um, Someone else said, that was 2 months ago. Where does the time go? Um, And then, yeah, so yeah. And then someone said, I feel like a lot of people have asked if you're going to sue her for this, and that question remains unanswered. Technically, that's true. Like, a lot of that, she didn't technically say whether or not she was going to sue her. And another thing, though, if she is actually going to sue her, though, she might not be legally, like, her lawyer may have advised her not to say that. Like, so this could be a statement that her lawyer approved to where it gives enough of an update to let people know where things stand, but doesn't lead anything onto what they may or may not be doing. Because if they are going to do a lawsuit, it's better for them, for their case, to do it in a way where Sandera wouldn't know until the last possible minute, because the less time Sandera has to prepare a defense, the more likely their case would be stronger. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, fucking Gloria said, why didn't you sue her? Someone said, are you gonna take her to Judge Judy? Um, And then someone said, no, 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 this someone needs to fix this small claims court. I'll sue her in small claims court. Someone said, lawyer up, girl. 2 months was already more enough to resolve this the civil way. Someone said, so frustrating. I know it costs money to sue, but I wonder if you can call your bank and report the transaction as fraud since that's what it is. I think she might have had 30 days to do a dispute. If maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's like a 30-day window to do a dispute typically. Am I not wrong on that? But Tony Ray said get that refund. Samara Alum said do a credit card charge. That doesn't make sense. Maybe they meant the reporting the transaction, but I don't know. Okay, fucking yeah. So it looks like people are just a lot of people want the attorney and all of that. So what's impacting both Raylee and Casze from all of this are the negative reviews that everybody went and left on their business pages. So that's one thing. Now, so both of them, they could be able to get a good bit, if not all, most of these reviews removed. If they well, first of all, they can go ahead themselves and organically, manually do the reporting through Facebook and initiate that process. But another thing they can do, is also hire reputation management firms that specifically offer negative reviews removed. And they need to specifically hire a firm that specializes in that, because there's a lot of reputation management firms, but not all reputation management firms can necessarily get the negative reviews removed. Like, I do reputation management, but I would have to outsource myself for that specific issue. Fucking so yeah, so and you're only going to be able to get reviews removed from people who are not customers. If they are actual customers, it's just way harder to get those reviews removed. You know, you have to have real good reason to get that review removed if they're an actual customer. But for the people who, they're not actual customers and they're just being little dip fucks, like, it's not that hard to be able to go to a PR firm that specializes in getting the negative reviews removed, or some type of reputation management firm, but make sure that they offer that service, because not all do. Um, and yeah, you'll be able to get that taken care of. Both Raylee and Caze will be able to do that. Fucking, I've never given a shit personally about my stuff. Like, I've had people leave me like reviews that have never even fucking worked with me, and I just cause we argue on fucking line, I don't even give a shit myself, because whatever. I just have other shit I'm worrying about right now. But if that is something you care about, there are ways you can go fix it. You know what I'm saying? Some people, they really care about like putting all of this effort in to look like they're this perfect thing. You know what I'm saying? And they don't like to have like any form of person talking shit about them or bad review or whatever. And so for me, like, where it's like hearing people claiming that I'm not deaf, it's the discrimination, that I have mixed feelings about on my reviews and things like that. And then the people that are defending police brutality, those are the people leaving me bad reviews, you know what I'm saying? And things like that. Like, people who I basically consider white supremacists are who leave me bad reviews, you know what I'm saying? Based on the discussions I've had with those people. Um, and so, with them, it's like sometimes it's like I want those reviews gone, because I don't want that type of person engaging or on my space. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like that mentality out there. But part of me is like, you know what? These are teaching moments. Whatever. You know what I mean? So, and some people give a fuck, some people don't. It really doesn't matter to me at the end of the day. I feel like at the end of the day, the truth always comes out. And so I prefer transparency. You know what I'm saying? So, like, where people are saying I'm not deaf, but I really am, that just makes them look like the asshole, not me. You know what I'm saying? Them Hearing people trying to claim I'm not deaf doesn't make me any less deaf. It just proves my point when I say they're ableist. You know what I mean? Things like that. Um, But it's like, yeah, no one's ever believed me about anything in my life. No one believes me when I say I'm deaf. No one believes me when I say I'm a twin. I know I'm deaf. I know I'm a twin. Things like that. Like, there are just these things about me where it's like no one ever believes me, because it doesn't impact them, but I know it's real. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. Anyway. So, Raylee really doesn't need a plan, because no one's really mad at Raylee. Like, even the people who would agree with me that she may have technically stolen the dress, like, even most people, because of the things that came out with the host and their Caze situation, most people are just like, fuck it. Like, no one gives a fuck. So, like, I don't feel like she necessarily needs a plan to correct her reputation, because so much came out to where now it's just like everybody is just like feeling bad for her with the way things went down. You know what I'm saying? Um, if that makes sense. So it's like, I mean, yeah, on a certain level, if she wanted to do a certain plan because of, well, she already did by putting her story out, like even there's a still maybe a certain amount of people that never saw her side of the story because Sandera's initial post got way more engagement than Rayleigh's post ever did, in my opinion. Um, I still believe the word has gotten out enough to where the general public consensus, in my opinion, has heavily shifted to be in Rayleigh's favor on the situation, to where I don't foresee her as having or struggling with long-term PR issues as a result of this, because even if people think that she could have done X, Y, or Z different, she still, in my opinion, um, was way more upfront about what occurred. And so, because people don't see, because there's not those perceived inconsistencies in her story, I feel like she had, and she doesn't have this other history of issues in business that have come out at this time. As long as she maintains good faith in that front, she's going to be fine. If things came out down the road where Raylee has these unethical business issues too, then that would be a different story. I'm not saying she does. I'm saying hypothetically that's what would have to change for her to need a PR plan, crisis management plan. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, something like that. Um, right? But for now, she's fine. It's Casze that needs a PR plan. So I did one for Casze. Um, and so fucking Casze, the whole situation with Casze is right now what I think they need to prioritize is regaining trust in business, improving their practices, making amends, building a support system, and actually being the change. Not just saying they're going to make these changes, but doing the change, being the change, showing the change, right? I think, we put these things in practice and then we can put together a PR plan based on actual, based on being able to show things. So hold on, I'm not fully articulating. So let me just walk you through what I mean. So, every business has different needs. So, I'm assuming that maybe Sandera would need to work some weekends, or I don't know, typically she works every weekend and takes other days off or what, but for the theorizing of this sake, we'll just assume she's taking 2 days off. She could put these on whatever days work for her. Um, and so let's just assume she's taking Saturday and Sunday off. And so one day she could put in effort to provide refunds and payment to and make things right with wrong customers and employees. Now, so I'm assuming, obviously she doesn't seem to be able to, since she hasn't had the funds to pay her employees, if that's true, um, she also doesn't seem to have been able to provide any of the customers who have had issues with their items a timely refund. First, I would start with getting on some form of payment plan with her employees and customers and following through on that and setting a queue for the people she owes money to and putting herself on a payment plan where every month she's going to allot, let's say, 10% of her income. 10% of her income could be allotted to repaying, making amends, and paying back the people she owes, paying back the employees on lost wages, and paying back the customer she owes refunds to. Okay, so, and then doing best efforts to make things right with wrong customers, employees in terms of apologizing, making amends, making the payments. You know what I'm saying? And whether or not they accept that apology, because they may not, they don't have to based on what happened. You know, at least she can show like she's doing her best to turn things around, starting with making things right with the people who she harmed, right? And two of the things that these would impact with her priorities for PR would be regaining trust in business and making amends with community, right? And the next day, weekly, she could focus on following through on her customers and employee issues in a timely manner. And so this would be improving her practices. So this could be focused on what is she doing right now to make people happy. How is she updating and maintaining her procedures? What is she doing to better manage the sales she has? So the issue hasn't been that she hasn't had sales come in, it's that she hasn't been having the time managed to properly serve each guest and produce those required results. So what can we do in our funnel and in our flow? So for example, like with our deadlines, who can we move back and like how are we prioritizing our deadlines? How are we prioritizing our work, our caseload, things like that. And we need to take an honest look at what point can we no longer feasibly produce on a deadline to where when someone comes to us and we already have this number of dresses in production and they need a dress at this date, we can't do that. They would need to book further out. We need to figure out these pars for the amount of, and that's PARS, pars for the amount of dresses that or items that you can produce at a given time reasonably, for example, right? And still actually produce results on time and pay your employees. Everybody is heard. And do you have some sort of procedure for hearing out and responding to and working with your employees and the issues they bring to you? You know what I'm saying? Showing how you're implementing these types of things and actually doing it, right? And this would go a long way with improving practices. Okay, and then the next day, could focus on asking community how you can serve. You know what I'm saying? So, say a local organization is doing a fashion show near you, and you could donate some dresses, for example, and that could raise money for the community. Things like that. Or ask community, and then also you can then ask the community for help to do what they expect of you. So you can ask your community, what do you need to see from me for me to show you that I'm doing what I can to be doing the right things in business to earn your trust? You know what I'm saying? That way, you're meeting expectations. You are engaging in reconciliation. You're taking the first steps of the accountability that your audience wants to see from you to believe in you. You know what I'm saying? So this will go a long way with building your support system. Now, next, we should work on sharing updates on your business improvement plan and giving credit to the community members that are helping. So when you share your updates, so people can actually see in real time, slowly, day by day, and consistently how you're showing up to provide change and to work on yourself and to not repeat the past issues you've had in business. And then when you give credit, to the people who are helping you, this is going to for you to show the who is validating what you're doing, who is guiding you, who are you communicating with, who are you engaging with in community, in order to show that you're trying to collaborate and in good faith um, build a support system that is mutual, where you're not just building your business off of others, but you're building a business to support others. You know what I'm saying? And this will go a long way with regaining trust in business, building your support system, and being the change. And then last, each week, checking in with your audience to reflect on value alignment and providing spaces to show accountability in business. Discussing it, owning it, and doing it. You know what I'm saying? This will go a long way with regaining trust and being the change. Um, and so, yeah, so you're going to need to repeat these efforts as needed to resolve issues and to, in good faith, be able to show or tell how you did everything you could to make things right. And then, if and only if in a place of showing improvement, a story on how this business owner turned it around could do really, really well for Casze in terms of publicity. You know what I'm saying? And so the expected turnaround time of this type of PR plan would be the time of paying the employees and making the amends with the customers. So paying back the employees, paying back the customers back, whatever time that takes, plus 3 to 6 months of consistency on this improvement where people can see this is not just lip service to cover your ass legally, but it's you actually trying to do better. Okay? Now, risk. This PR plan does not work without good faith, best efforts of making things right. Also, this plan crumbles if this business is even perceived as unethical again ever. Now, on a certain level, no matter what you do, she could be doing everything right for the rest of her fucking life, and there's gonna be some people who will always just look back on this situation and just be like, nah, I don't trust her. However, I do believe that if she actually does the work and does her best to show it, that there is a chance, that most people are going to see and believe, we all make mistakes. We all go through phases in our life of not making the best decisions, making fucked up decisions for one reason or another. And so it's just like, you think about that, like, think about where are you in your business journey back in the day, like when you were doing stupid ass shit. Wouldn't you want others to give you the benefit of the doubt on your ability to grow and change, right? And so I think also everybody likes to see the underdog win. Everybody likes to see people change. Everybody likes to see a redemption story. So I do think that Kaze does have a real opportunity to turn this around and it not be this big blight on her career. You know what I'm saying? I really do think she has a chance to turn it around, but however, what I think will not help if she keeps going down the path she's going, there's not going to be much anybody can do. Like, on a certain level, she's done so well. She's always, in my opinion, going to be able to get a certain amount of sales based on her success, which is a good thing. I want her to continue, being successful in life. Like, I don't think, I want her to be able to live. Like, we're in a fucking capitalist society, right? But I don't think her business will take off or scale in a good way if she isn't going to be ethical in her value alignment with her business. I think eventually we will see a crash and fall unless she shifts gears. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my opinion based on the direction and the possibility, like, because when you get in a certain amount of legal disputes like this with your business, it's going to drain your resources. And if you consistently um, may have these types of problems, your customer transactions, you're not going to be able to get out of debt, in my opinion, because you're going to be constantly in legal battles and you're not going to be able to thrive, you know? If for no other reason of like morality and just doing the right thing, reflect on how, on that alone is why you should reflect on bio alignment in business, because long term, you're legally dragging yourself down with resources. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not making sense, but yeah. So, moving on. Last but not least, I figure we could do our reaction here to lecture 4. This is building product, talking to users, and growing with Adora. Is this Cheung or is it Chung? It's Cheung. I apologize. I don't know how to say it. I think it's like Cheung or Chung. I don't know. I'm sorry. Anyway, so yeah, let's check this out. Oh, and before we do, I know one person said this is a great talk from a company that shut down 1 year later on on the comments. You know, people are basically kind of shitting her on her because her startup didn't last. But I will say, most startups fail. That doesn't mean there aren't lessons you can learn from people who failed at startups. You know, learning from other people's failures is also a way you can not repeat those failures. You know what I'm saying? And just because she didn't do well at that one startup doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't mean she doesn't have good advice to offer. Like, not everything you do is going to work out. That doesn't mean you don't do a good job. It just means some shit went wrong with what happened, but we learn from it and then we keep going, right? You know what I mean? In my opinion. Unless you are Ocean Gate. I apologize. Okay. So
Thanks for having me. So today I am going to be talking about how to go from 0 users to many users.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, or I think I did at the beginning, but just reminding, this is sped up 2 times speed. And I'm also very fascinated with the whole concept of, going from 0 to many users. And yeah, that's also, like, honestly, I think it's a good one to have with the Casze situation because I think that's what Case's problem is. She's not, doesn't have the procedures in place to sustainably scale from 0 users to many users, which is how I think her practices may have suffered. And the quality could be perceived as not what people expected because of that. Because if you don't have a procedure in place to handle the number of business that comes your way, then you're not going to be able to adequately serve those people. They're going to be unhappy with you, and then you're just going to be pissing off a bunch of people instead of having, good results with those customers. So, you got to really make sure that when you scale, you're not just trying to go viral or get a bunch of views without actually first building out the procedure and the service flow and preparing and having everything you need to fully serve those people. It's like working at a restaurant that's all sold out of food if you don't, you know what I mean? If you don't fully prepare. So yeah, think about it that way.
I'm just assuming that you have many great ideas in your head at this moment, and you're kind of thinking about what the next step is. So I wrote this up early this morning, and a lot of this is based off of mistakes I've made in the past. So as Sam mentioned, I went to YC in 2010 and spent a number of 3 years basically going back and forth.
I love how she's literally sitting here like this is based off of mistakes that I made. Like that is beautiful because like a lot of people they're so focused on being perceived as perfect that they will not talk about their mistakes in business because they don't want to be seen as someone who made mistakes because or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I think in business it's more important to discuss how we learn from mistakes and be transparent from our fuck ups than to act like we never did anything wrong because we're all human fucking beings. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Pivoting a bunch of times, starting over a bunch of times, and I've learned a lot about what not to do if I were to start another startup after HomeJoy, if that should ever happen. And so a lot of it comes from failure and just telling you about what you shouldn't do, and kind of making generalizations of what you should do from that. So just a reminder that this is sort of, all advice you should take as directionally good guidance. Like it's like kind of in the right direction, but every business is different. You are different. I'm not you, and so just take everything with that in mind. So since this is a college course, when you start a startup, you should basically have lots of time on your hand to concentrate on the startup. And I'm not saying you should quit school or you should quit work. What I'm saying is you should have a lot of time, compressed time in a row, really dedicated to immersing yourself in the idea and developing problems or developing the solutions to the problem you're trying to solve. So for example, if you're in school, it's better to have 1 or 2 days straight per week on working on your idea versus spending 2 hours here and there every single day during the course of the week. It's sort of like, I think this is an engineering class, so it's sort of like coding. Like there's a lot of context switching and just being able to really focus, really focus and immerse yourself is very, very important. So like I said, I sort of first, when I wrote this up, was thinking what are the things that some people do or most people do that is not the correct way to do a startup. And sort of the novice approach, I think, is what you see up here, which is, I have this really great idea. I don't want to tell anyone about it. I'm going to build, 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 build. I'm going to tell one or two people, and then I'm going to launch it on, I'm going to launch it on TechCrunch or somewhere like that. Then I'm going to get lots of users. But what really happens is because you did not get a lot of that feedback and stuff like that, maybe you get a lot of people to your site, but no one sticks around because you didn't get that initial user feedback. And then, if lucky enough you have some money in the bank, you might go buy some users, but sort of it just whittles out over time and you just give up. And this is sort of a vicious cycle. And I actually did this once, and I did this while I was in YC, and that was, like when I went through YC, I didn't even launch a product, like I didn't even launch in TechCrunch, which is the thing that you should definitely do. And so you don't want to ever get into that cycle because you'll just end up with nothing good. So the next thing is,
I do agree with that, where a lot of people, they don't, so for example, like a lot of the people that come in to me for marketing, one of the very first things that I have to set up for them are these tools such as Google Analytics, Google Search Console, where we can actually go monitor and measure what's happening with, on the site, where are people leaving, what actions are people taking, things like that, and where we can see if there's any broken links or anything on the site. Um, and people are just like they haven't been doing that before, and so they haven't been paying attention to how users are engaging with them. And so then we're able to go through and we're basically able to see like, oh, people stop engaging on this page, what's the issue? We go through, there's a form not working, things like that. Or um, Google Search Console, it will return an error if certain items on your page aren't indexing, aren't ranking, or if something's slowing it down. Um, and so there is a lot of ways in which you, as a business owner, can be paying attention to what is your offer. Like, how are people engaging with your website? How are people engaging with your um, sales funnel? And then determining, like, okay, do people leave your site on the landing page, or do they stay for the landing page but leave your site on the checkout page? And then let's look at the checkout page. Does it have 3 buttons, or there's there 20 things to fill out to buy? Can we customize that checkout page, right? Because some people, if they stayed for the landing page and then they went to the checkout page and that's where they left, that's typically where the issue is. So perhaps there's just too many fields and we could simplify that. They'd be more likely to buy, things like that, right? Like, there's just different things that you can do to basically optimize the experience. And a lot of people, they will spend $1,000 on ads without ever looking at the analytics, and then they're just like, I don't know why that ad didn't make money. But they don't even know what their cost per lead was or their cost per action. They didn't even target the ad to anybody. You know what I mean? They didn't even break the ad up into funnels. So um I think also too, if you don't know what to do, go get somebody who does know how to do it. Because on one level, as business owners, I know we're expected to wear all hats, but it's better to invest your money into someone who actually knows what they're doing than to run ads, that you don't know how to run, for example, as a business owner. So you also look at the risk of, should you actually be doing everything yourself as a business owner? What is the risk of that? You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I feel like these are things to consider as a startup. I don't know. I apologize. I just like rambled on all of this so long but that's just what this shit reminded me of. But you know what? All right, let's just keep going. My bad.
You have an idea, and you should really think about what the idea is really solving. Like, what is the actual problem? And so the problem statement you should be able to describe it in one sentence. And then you should think, how does that problem relate to me? Am I really passionate about that problem? And then you should think, okay, it's a problem I have. Is it a problem that other people have? And sort of verify that by just going out and talking to people. One of the biggest mistakes I've made is, we started, my co-founder and I, who is also my brother, he and I started a company called Pathjoy.
Okay, so for me too, this another issue I had with previous lectures is where I felt like they were more focused on I get on one level when these are people who like college kids going to a startup class. On a certain level, it is good to let them know about what ideas are viable for a business, and how to identify that, and a certain extent of brainstorming on how you can come up with a startup idea is related to those concepts that I think is useful, right? But on another level, I'm against the whole narrative of when we talk about startups of, yeah, let's discuss how you can come up with a reason to start a business. Because to me, it's like, if you shouldn't be coming up with a reason to start a business, you should just want to do something, and then you can make a business off of that. But if you don't actually want to do it, just coming up with a business to start that you don't have that connection for or passion to, um, in my opinion, rarely ever succeeds, because it's so hard to do a business that if you don't love what you do, you're not going to keep doing it. And usually the exception are people who are just rich enough to fund whatever fucking projects they want to do anyway, whether or not they give a shit about it. You know what I'm saying? But like for most of us broke bitches, you have to really fucking love what you're gonna do. So a lot of this stuff where they talk about, on a certain level, yeah, when you're framing your offer, you need to think about solving people's needs. But on another level, and on a certain level, it's like what you do has some other people have to want it. You know what I mean? Um, so for example, like, just think of something that nobody wants. What is something that failed? I don't know. I can't think of shit. Um, but if it's something that nobody wants and it's just something that you love doing, typically though, even hobbies can be monetized because people love um, content. People love engaging. People love fantasy. So in my opinion, there's typically a way to monetize anything. But that's just me. But I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's keep going.
In 2009, 2010, and our goal was basically to, we had two goals in mind. One is to create a company that made people really happy, and create a company that was very, very impactful. And a good proxy for that is to just create a huge, big company. And so we thought, okay, here's what we're going to solve is, make people happier. And we first went to the notion of who are the people that made people happy, and we came up with life coaches and therapists. So it seemed kind of obvious to just create a platform for life coaches and therapists. And what happened as a result, though, was that when we started using the product ourselves, we're not cynical people by any means, but life coaches and therapists are just not people we would use ourselves. It was sort of useless to us, and so it wasn't even a problem we had, and certainly wasn't something we're super passionate about building out. Yet we spent almost a year trying to do this. And so if you just start from T equals 0, just like think about this before you even build any product, I think you can save yourself a lot of headache down the road from doing something you don't want to do. So say you have a problem and you're able to state it. Where do you start? Like, how do you think of solutions? So the first thing you should do is think of what the industry that you are getting yourself into, whether it's big, whether it's huge. You should really immerse yourself in that industry. And there's a number of ways to do this. One is, to really become a cog in that industry for a little bit. And so it might seem a little counterintuitive to do this because most people say, if you really want to disrupt an industry, you should really not be this, player in it. You should, someone who spent 20 or 30 years in an industry probably does, sit in their ways and is just used to the way things work and really can't think about what the inefficiencies are or the things that you can quote unquote disrupt. But however, as a noob, coming into the industry, you really should take, 1 or 2 months just really understanding what all the little bits and pieces of the industry are and how it works. Because it's when you get into the details, that's when you start seeing things you can exploit, things that are really, really inefficient and provide, huge overhead costs that you can cut down. And so an example of this is, when we started HomeJoy, we decided we started with the cleaning industry. And when we started, we just were cleaners ourselves. And we started to clean houses. And we found out really quickly was that we were very bad cleaners. And so as a result, we said, okay, we got to learn more about this. And we went to buy books. And we bought books about how to clean, which helped maybe a little bit. We learned a little bit more about cleaning supplies. But it's sort of like basketball, you can watch and you can learn, or you can watch and read about basketball, but you're not going to get better at it if you don't actually, train and, throw a basketball around and throw into the hoop. And so we decided one of us basically had to go and learn how to clean. And so we went, or get trained by, a professional, some sort of professional training program that existed. And that meant we actually went to get a job at a cleaning company itself. And the cool thing was that, I learned how to clean from, training for the few weeks I was there at the cleaning company. But the even better thing was that I learned a lot about how a local cleaning company worked. And in that sense, I learned why a local cleaning company could not become huge like HomeJoy is today. And that's because they have, they're pretty old school and they have a lot of things, just from anywhere from booking the customer to optimizing the cleaner schedules, which is done very inefficiently. And so so when you go, if you are in a situation like mine where, there's a service element of it, you should go and do that service yourself. If your thing is related to restaurants, you should become a waiter. If it's related to, painting, become a painter and kind of get in the shoes of your customers from all angles of what you're trying to build. The other thing is there's also a level of obsessiveness that you should have with it too as well. Like you should be so obsessed to know what everybody in the space is doing. And it's things like, writing a list of all the potential competitors or similar types of companies, Google searching it and clicking on every single link and reading every single article from search result number 1 to 1,000. I found all potential competitors, big and small, and if they're public, I would go read their S1s. I would go read all their quarterly financials. I would sit on the earnings calls. There's most of these you don't get much out of it, but there's just these golden nuggets that you'll find once in a while, and you won't be able to find that unless you actually go through the work of getting all that information in your head. So yeah, you should become an expert in the industry. There should be no doubt when you're building this that you are the expert, so that people trust you when you're building this product. The second thing is identifying customer segments. So ideally, at the end of the day, in the end game, you've built a product or a business that everybody in the world is using. But realistically, in the beginning, you kind of want to corner off a certain part of the customer base so that you can really optimize for them. And that's just, it's just a matter of focus and a matter of, catering towards whether it's teenage girls or whether it's, soccer moms. You'll just be able to, like I said, focus a lot on their needs. And lastly, before you even create the product, before you put code down, you should really storyboard out the ideal user experience of how you're going to solve the problem. And that's not just meaning, the website itself. It's meaning, how does the customer find out about you? Whether it's, could be through an ad or through word of mouth or whatever. So they find out about you, they come to your site, they learn more about you. What's all that text say? What are you communicating to them? To the actual, when they sign up for the product or they purchase the service, what are they actually getting? To after they finish using the product or after they finish using the service, what's, there's sort of like an evaluation period, like they leave a review or they leave comments or whatnot, and just being able to go through that whole flow and visualize in your head, like just envision what the perfect user experience is, and then put it down on paper, and then put it into code, and then start from there. So you have all these ideas in your head now. You kind of know what the core customer base you want to go after is, and you know like everything about the industry. What do you do next? So you start building your product. And the common phrase that most people use these days is like you should build a minimal viable product. And I know I'm viable because I think a lot of people skip that part, and they just go out with a feature, and then the whole user experience in the very beginning is flat. So minimal viable product pretty much means what is the smallest feature set that you should build to solve the problem that you're trying to solve. And I think if you go through the whole storyboard experience, you can kind of figure out that very quickly. But again, you have to be talking to users, right? You have to potentially use. You have to be seeing what exists out there already and what you should be building to solve their immediate needs. And the second thing is, before you put things in front of a user, you should really have your product, a simple product positioning down. And what I mean by that is that you should be able to go to a person and you should be able to say, hey, this does X, Y, and Z within a sentence. And so, for example, at HomeJoy, we started off with something actually super complicated. Like, we're an online platform for home services. We started with cleaning, and you can choose, blah, 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 and it just went off for paragraphs and paragraphs. When we went to potential users to come on our platform, they just get bored after the first few sentences. And so what we found out was that we really need this one-liner. The one-liner is very important, and it kind of describes the functional benefit of what you do. In the future, when you're trying to build a brand or whatnot, you should be able to describe what are the emotional benefits and stuff like that. But you're starting with no users, you really need to tell them what they're going to get out of it. So we simply, after we changed our positioning to get your place clean for $20 an hour, then everyone got it, and we were able to get users in the door that way. So you have a MVP going out there. Now, how do you get your first?
Right, and here's where she's like not explaining one thing. The biggest difference, on one level, she's literally explaining the features and the benefits, and those are things that people want to know after they're interested. They're not hooked yet. Those are things that people want to know in the bottom funnel when they're ready to buy, when they're trying to decide what specifically they're going to buy. The first part where she's like, get your place clean, $20 an hour or something like that, where the fuck she said, that's the hook. That tells you price, tells you what you're going to get, all of this. You know what I'm saying? And so this other thing where people are like, yeah, your place could be clean. And people are like, all right, whatever, I'll clean my fucking place. Okay. Versus, we'll clean it for $20 an hour. You know what I'm saying? The difference in the wording there. But yeah, I like where she's talking about doing the research and everything like that. I think that's some good shit. Where she's talking about understanding everything about what you do. I don't feel like other people fully hit on that the way she has so far in this lecture or in this series that we've been watching. So I feel like that's some pretty good advice that not enough people actually bother doing, because even if they understand their industry in terms of what they do, they don't typically go look into their competitors. And so a lot of times when I am coming to somebody with a competitor research, they don't have competitors for me that they have for me to go research. So I'm coming to them with competitors I already researched. You know what I'm saying? And so that's like a thing where it's like if you understand what other people are doing in your industry, then you're going to understand what are you doing as a benchmark in relation, and that matters in terms of managing expectations for your customers, because they could go get it anywhere else in the market. What else would they get? You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
First few users to start trying it. So your first users should be, obvious people, the people that you're connected with. You should use it, obviously, you and your co-founder should be using it, your mom and dad should be using it, your friends and coworkers should be using it. Beyond that, you want to get more user feedback. And so I've listed here kind of some of the obvious places to go to, and depending on what you're selling, you can take your pick of the draw here. So online communities, there's, in Hacker News now, there's a show like Jen, that's a great place, especially if you're building tools for developers and things like that. Local communities, so if you're building a consumer product, there are a lot of influential local community mailing lists, especially those for, parents. So those are places you might want to hit up too. Okay, so when you go to, by the way, HomeJoy, we actually tried all of these. So we used it ourselves, that was fine, because we were on Cleaner, so that was pretty easy. And then our parents live in Milwaukee, so we were based in Mount Houston, where friends and coworkers are kind of like in San Francisco and elsewhere, so we didn't have to even use it. So we actually ended up in a dead end of not being able to convince many people to use this in the beginning. So what we did was, because we're in Mountain View, some of you guys might know on Casze Street they have street fairs there during the summertime. And so we'd go out and basically chase down people and try to get them the book of cleaning. And almost everyone would say no. Until one day, we just took advantage. It was a very hot and humid day. And what we noticed was, this is like any fair. People, there might be arts and crafts and things like that, and random people will, gravitate towards that. But everybody gravitates towards the food and drink area, especially on a hot day. So what we did was, okay, we figured we need to get in the middle of that. And by getting in the middle of that, we just took water bottles, froze them, and then we started handing out free bottles of water that were cold. And people just came to us. I think we basically guilt tripped people into booking cleanings. But the proof in the pudding was that I figured most of the people were guilt tripped into doing it. But when they went home, they didn't cancel on us. Well, some of them did, but a majority of them did not. And so we felt like I thought, okay, that's good. I got to go clean their houses, but at least there's something we're actually solving here. I don't suggest. I think showing up the fairs, or I know another startup in the last batch. I forgot their name right now, but they showed up. They were selling shipping type products, or trying to replace shipping products, or the concept of mailing stuff.
So where she's talking about how she gave them the cold bottle of water, and then they booked the appointment for the free cold bottle of water or whatever. That's like a lead magnet thing, like a lead generation thing. So it's like, yeah, fucking is that what happened? Did I process that right? Like they booked so yeah. I guess that's not a free bottle of water if they booked an appointment. It's an expensive bottle of water now, isn't it? But well, I guess they got their house cleaned. Is that what happened? I don't know. Anyway, but the whole concept of giving away something in order to entice them to take an action with you, such as book an appointment or um sign up for an email list. That's typically called a lead magnet. And a lot of in the service industry, you'll see that a lot with ebooks. People will be like, get an ebook when you do this. You know what I'm saying? But the whole reason it works is because of reciprocity. And I said reciprocity, but this didn't fucking get it. But yeah, that's why it works. Because when you give someone something, they feel more obligated to give you something in return for some reason, like consciously under capitalism. I think it's because a lot of us under colonialism are kind of basically told and raised up with that idea that we owe someone something if they give anything to us at all. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And I think that starts with how our parents will be treating us. You know what I mean?
And so they would show up to the U.S. Postal Office and just find people who were trying to ship products and just take them out of line and try to get them to use your product and have them ship it for you. So you just have to go to places where people are going to really show up, and your conversion rate is going to be really, really low. But to go from 0 to 1 to 3 to 4, these are kind of things you might have to do. Okay, so you got some users using you. Now, what do you do with all these users? Customer feedback. So one, the first thing you should do is make sure there's a way for people to contact you. So support@homejoy.com. Ideally, there's a phone number. If you put up a phone number, one really good idea is to make sure that you have a voicemail or something like that, so you don't have to be picking it up all the time. But in any case, a way for people to get inbound feedback is good. But really, what you should be doing is going out to your users and talking with them. Get away from your desk and just get out and do the work. It seems like a slog, and it's going to be a slog. But this is where you're going to get the best feedback ever for your product. And this is going to teach you on what features you need to completely change, get rid of, or what features you need to build. And so one way to do this is to send out surveys, to get reviews after they've used the product. This is okay, but generally, people are only going to respond if they really love you or they really hate you, and you never get the in between. So kind of get the in between, not get all the extremes, is to go out and actually meet the person that is using your product. And it's not a good idea to, I've seen people go out to meet the user and they sit there and it's like a laboratory and it's like an inquisition almost. You're kind of just poking them, why don't you do that? That's not going to give you the best results. What you should really do is make it into a conversation, get to know them, get them to feel comfortable, because you want to get them at a level where they feel like, they should be honest with you to help you and improve things for you. So I found that actually taking people out for drinks and stuff like that was a very good way to do that. I'm not sure if all of you are old enough to do that, but you can take them for coffee. So another thing you should be tracking is how are you doing in general from a macro perspective? And the best way to do that is by tracking customer retention. That is the number of people that came in the door today, how many are coming back tomorrow, the next day, and so on and so forth. Usually over time, you're kind of looking at monthly retention. So people who came in the door today, are they still using it next month, and so on and so forth. The problem with that metric is that it takes forever to collect that data, and sometimes you don't have a month or 2 months or 3 months to figure that out. So a good leading indicator is actually collecting reviews and ratings,
On one level, I understand what she's meaning when you don't always have time to figure that shit out. If you're bleeding money, you need to fix why you're bleeding money now or something. Or if you need to make money, you need to try and figure it out. But on another level, you got to have realistic expectations too. It typically does take a long time to become profitable. And it typically takes most people up to 10 times of interacting with a business before they actually buy from you. So, unless you are able to run ads in order to scale a message to somebody, in order for them to engage with you multiple interactions, you typically are going to see a longer conversion window if you're doing organic advertising. You know what I'm saying? So, like, things like this can depend heavily on whether or not you have outside investment or some type of funding into your business and you're currently scaling, or if you're going long term organic without funding. You're going to have two different, you know what I'm saying, realities with this thing. And in the cases where you need to understand what's happening shorter term, you're typically going to be able to look more at the metrics related to the individual insights where you're engaging users. So if it's on an app, you're going to have metrics for your app. If it's for your website, the same. Facebook, YouTube, it's going to be a specific platform related to you and your business where you're looking for those metrics at. But yeah, you're just going to be able to look at your other insights for those shorter term results. You know what I'm saying? To gauge retention for where people are dropping off then, if that makes sense.
5-star, 4-star reviews are collecting some notion of NPS, which is Net Promoter Score. So you're basically asking them from a rating from 0 to 10, how likely are they to recommend you to a friend, and calculating the NPS. And so over time, what you'll see is as you're building new features, you should be able to see that the reviews of the retention is going up over time, which means you're doing a good job. If it's going down, you're doing a bad job. And if it's kind of staying the same, that means you probably need to go out and figure out what new things you should be building. The other thing is, I'll get the qualitative thing later, but one thing you should be wary of is the honesty curve, which is some people will just lie to you. So I was gonna just do. So, I mean, this is like degrees of separation from you, and this is like level of honesty. Like, so here this is your mom. This is like your friends of friends. And here's like random people. I don't know if you can all see this, but so your mom is going to be, you should use your product, but she's going to be proud of you anyway. And so she'll like maybe be honest like this much, and your friends will, they'll be pretty honest with you and give you feedback because they care about you. By the way, this is assuming it's a free product that you're giving them. And then over time, like as you get more and more random, these people don't even know who you are. It doesn't look like this really, but it kind of goes like this, where people don't care about giving you feedback. They just like, okay, here's a survey. And so you should take this into consideration when getting user feedback. Now, let's say you pay. It's a paid product, right? Well, let's just do this in green. So the paid, your mom is going to be like down here. Like she's just going to lie to you and say, she's just going to feel sorry and say, this is a great product, of course. But then kind of it goes like this, right? Which is to say that, your friends are kind of going to give you the right, they want to support you and give you the right feedback. But it's actually these random people out here that, if they really don't think what they paid for was worth it, they're going to really tell you because, it's money out the door. And so this is another way of saying you're going to get the best feedback. Like this is obviously, down here, you're going to get more feedback if you just make someone pay for it. So that's not to say, you should, the first time out, make people pay for it. But it's to say that you should if you're going to build a product that you're going to eventually need to, they're going to pay for it for the software or for the hardware, whatever, you should do that, get to the point where you can do that very, very fast. Because then that's when you get the real meaty stuff to help you in the future of how you can get more paying users in the door. All right, so you're getting a lot of feedback. And what do you do before you?
On one level, I think her advice applies in terms of getting a lot of feedback if you're already seeing high number of users. But don't try to generate users to get the feedback, because if you are trying to generate users to get the feedback without first focusing on the procedures, then you may not have everything set in place to fully service your users, right? So it's also about priorities, in my opinion, at this point.
Officially launch the product. So what you want to do is you always want to be building fast, right? And you want to be optimizing for this stage of growth. That is, you might have 10 users at this point. There's no point in trying to build features for the point when you have 1 million users, right? You want to optimize for the next stage of growth, which is going to be 10 to 100 users. Like, what are the features you really need for that? And just go with that. And basically on the slide is just many ways of stating that notion. Manual before automation. One of the things that I found when building a marketplace is that process is very, very important over time as you scale. But you need not try to automate everything and create software to just have robots just run everything. What you really should do to understand what you should build is to manually do it yourself. And an example of this is when we started taking on cleaning professionals onto our platform, we would have them, we would ask them a bunch of questions over the phone, and then in person we asked them a bunch of questions too. And then they would go to a test clean, and then they would, get onboarded to our platform if they were good enough. And so this took doing all this question asking for that many candidates. We had about a 3 to 5% acceptance rate. And so you can imagine all the people we were talking to in the beginning of the funnel that never even made it onto the platform. But what happened over time was that we learned certain questions that we were asking were indicators of whether they're going to be a good or a bad performer on the platform. We through just like data collection and just looking at everything, we could just ask on an online form. So that's when we put in an online application. They could apply, and then we would ask them maybe several other questions in an in-person interview. So if you try to automate things too fast, then you run into this potential problem of not being able to move quickly on trying to iterate with things like questions on an application and stuff like that. And the third point here is temporary brokenness is much better than permanent paralysis. By that, what I mean is perfection is irrelevant during the stage. You should, when you get to the next stage of growth, like what you're trying to maybe perfect in this one stage is probably going to not matter anyway. And so do not worry about all the edge cases when you're building something. Just worry about the generic case of who your core user is going to be. And then as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, the volume of those edge cases will increase over time, and you'll want to build for that. And lastly, beware of the Frankenstein approach, which is great. You talk to all these users, they give you all these ideas. The first thing you're going to want to do is go build every single one of them and then go show them the next day and make them happier. You should definitely listen to user feedback, but
Yeah, so on that level, I agree that you can't do everything that everybody tells you to do. It's not possible. It literally is not. Unless, you're rich as shit, you got the money to do it, then you're like, fuck it, why the fuck not? But most people, it's just not possible. So it's not that you have to do everything, but it's important to make people feel heard. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you know, if someone comes to you with advice or with things that are on their mind in terms of what they want to present to the world in marketing, I feel like a lot of marketers will shut it down because of the whole concept of you can't listen to everybody. But in my opinion, when someone comes, typically they just need to get it off their chest and feel heard. Even if it doesn't get done because of limitations of resources, just someone feeling like what they have to say is valued and matters and that their input is considered can often be enough to just like, you know what I mean, make people feel like you make people feel like their voice that they have a say in what is gonna be and what they're using from you. You know what I'm saying? Like just making people feel like, you know what I mean, you're taking into account their needs when you do business with them. It does matter. Even if you can't make everybody happy or whatever and do everything for everybody, if you could even make as many of them as possible just feel like you're trying your best to, then that's what, in my opinion, can help you maintain loyalty. Um, I feel like a lot of people, they will, because you can't, they will accept user feedback and have a procedure for you to provide it, but they won't actually pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is not even if you can't actually take action on the fucking feedback, just acknowledging it and taking time to process it and why it mattered to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Because if something matters to one person, I'm willing to bet it matters to others, but not everybody's willing to take the time to actually tell you something. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's just me.
when someone tells you to build a feature, you shouldn't go build it right away. What you should really do is, get to the bottom of why they're asking you to build a feature. It's usually what they're suggesting is not the best idea, but what they're really suggesting is I have this other problem that you've either created for me while using the product, or I really need this problem solved before I'm ever going to pay to use this product. And so figure that out first, instead of piling on a bunch of features, which then hides the problem altogether. So you have so you have a product that you're ready to ship, and so some people at this point will continue building their product and not ship it at all. And I think the whole idea of being stealth and perfecting the product to no ends is the idea that imitation is cheaper than innovation in terms of time and money and capital. And so I think everyone should just always assume in general, like, there's going to be, if you have a really good idea, no matter when you launch, someone's going to fast follow you, and someone's going to execute as hard as they possibly can to catch up with you. And so there's no point in holding out all that user feedback that you can get by getting a lot of users, because you feel like you feel paranoid that someone's going to do this to you. And I hate to keep harping on it, but this is things I see today with founders. Is something I went through as well. And I think unless you're building something that requires tens of millions of dollars just to start up, there's really no point in waiting around to launch your product. So say you have something that you feel ready to get lots of users on. So what do you do at this point? So I'll look at my time. So I will go over various types of growths in the next slides. But the one thing to note here, early on, when you are trying to get, when it's just you and your co-founder and maybe like a couple other people building, you're not going to create a team just for growth. It's going to be one person only. And so you need to really focus. And you're going to be tempted to try like 5 different strategies at one time. But really what you should do is take one channel and really execute on it for an entire week and just focus on that. And then if that works, continue executing on it until it caps out. If it doesn't work, then just move on. By doing this, you will feel more certain that that channel that you were working on, that initial hypothesis, is wrong. You'll be, then if you tried only working a third of your time on it over the course of 3 or 4 weeks. So learn one channel at a time. Second is always when you find channels that work, you find strategies that work, always be iterating on it. You can potentially give it to create a playbook and give it to somebody else to iterate on it. But these channels always change. Anything from Facebook ads to even Google ads to the distribution channels, the environments that you don't control change all the time, and so you should be always iterating and optimizing for that. And lastly, in the beginning, you probably, when you see a channel that fails, you just get rid of it and go on and move on. There's many other things to try. But over time, go back to those channels and look at it again. So, and what I mean by that as an example is, in the beginning at HomeJoy, we had no money. So when we tried to buy users from Marinade, or not from Marinade, that's just an example competitor. We tried to buy Google Ads to get users in the door quickly. And what we found was that Marinades, Lemonades, all these other national companies, they had more money than us. They were making a lot more money on the job than us, and so they were able to pay for users at a much higher CAC, they were able to acquire them at a much higher cost than us. And so we couldn't afford that, and we had to go to another channel, which turned out to be something else. But today, we make more money on the job. We're much better at certain things, and so we should probably revisit the idea of buying Google Ads and going to the SEM channel. And so that's what I mean by that. And the key to all this is creativity. Performance marketing, or marketing or growth in general, can be very technical, but it's actually technical and you have to be creative, because if it was really easy and bland, like everyone would be growing right now. And so you always have to find like that little thing that no one else is doing and do that to the extreme. So there are three types of growth. Three types of growth. Sticky, viral, and paid growth, and hopefully I'll get enough time to talk about all of this. So really briefly, sticky growth is trying to get your existing users to come back and pay you more or use you more. Second is viral growth, so that's when people talk about you. So you use a product, you really like it, and you tell 10 other friends, and they like it, that's viral growth. And the third is paid growth, so if you happen to have money in the bank, you're going to be able to perhaps use part of that money to buy growth.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody talk about customer retention or building loyalty in this way in terms of sticky, viral, or paid. And a lot of times going viral won't connect you to sales. And for a lot of people, or it won't connect you to long-term sales, rather. It may result in short-term sales. But not for everybody. Some people go viral and make no sales at all because they don't have like a sales system in place. But I do think that this is a good way to reflect on how can we connect. For people who are going viral, how can you connect your viral moments to sustainability in business by connecting the growth and the scaling the customer retention, and you're building your relationships and your loyalty with your fan base, as well as being able to scale with your paid advertising. I think that's something I've never processed yet, is connecting the three. Because I think a lot about organic and paid growth and advertising on its own. You know what I'm saying? By sticky, I think she just means organic. But considering viral growth in relation to your free and paid advertising isn't something that I've connected and processed yet before. So I'm actually really feeling this right here for myself. Yeah.
And the central theme I'm going to go through is sustainability. There's a lot of, by sustainable growth, I mean, you're basically not a leaky bucket. Money you put in or time you put in has a good return on investment on it. So sticky growth is, like I said, getting your existing users to keep buying stuff. So the only thing that really matters here is that you deliver a good experience, right? If you deliver a good experience, people are going to keep wanting to use you. If you deliver an addictive experience, people are going to keep wanting to use you. And the way to measure this and to really look at this and how you're doing over time with whether you are providing good sticky growth is to look at the CLVs and retention cohort analysis. Now, does anyone not know what cohort analysis is, or should I go over it? Okay, so I'll go over it. Okay, so CLV is, some people call it LTV, is called customer lifetime, which is basically the amount of the net revenue that a customer brings in the door for you over a certain amount of period. So a 12-month CLV is how much net revenue does a customer give you over 12 months. And sometimes people get 3 months, 6 months, and so on and so forth.
Sorry if you know this already, but for those who don't, by CLV, that just means customer lifetime value. And that's when you do the math to estimate what is the max amount of money in a given time frame, based on what you have right now available, that you could like earn from a customer in their lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So say you sell $100 like shirts. I don't know, people fucking do, whatever. Say you sell like these fancy ass $100 t-shirts or whatever, and those are expensive ass shirts. I don't know why I'm going here. Whatever, we're here now. Fucking but yeah. So you're thinking if someone buys 2 shirts from you a year, and they usually do because they just like those shirts for some fucking reason, and they're long lifetime buyers and they buy from you for at least 50 years, then you know what I mean, you're gonna make 100 times 50, what is that, 5,000. Say, for example, like, let's just estimating that would be their lifetime value. So things like that can help you anticipate, okay, well, if you can maintain these relationships, how much money can you anticipate in the future, right? And then retention cohort analysis. So a cohort is just a segment or a section or a type of market. You know what I mean? So it could be a cohort, could be anything. So you can make a cohort by people who bought red sneakers from you. You can do a cohort for people, and retention means people who returned. So returning people of buying red sneakers would be analyzing how many people keep buying red sneakers from you, for example. That's what retention cohort analysis is when you look at how many people of a section of your buyers are returning to you. You know what I'm saying? Or you can do it by geography. You can do it by offer. You can do it by SKU. You can do it by geography. It's variable. You could say you can make your retention cohort analysis by people from New Orleans. You know what I mean? For example, like whatever your business needs it to be. Um, you know what I'm saying?
So when I say cohort, basically what you're looking at is, this is time. So let's just call this, time. So and this is percent of users coming back to you. So at time 0, right, at period 0, we're at 100, 100%. So cohort is another name also for like customer segments and stuff like that. So you can you might look at the female versus male cohort, people in Atlanta, Georgia versus people in Sacramento, California. But the most common one is by month. So cohort equals month. And let's just say for this exercise, we are looking at March of, 2012. So March 2012, 100% of people, you'll have n equals 100 people. So 100% of people obviously are using your product because, that's the definition. Now, 1 month later, you might have, the scale is not right, but 50% might come back, and so you come here. Now, in the second month, how many people that came in March come back in the second month, or 2 months later, and that might be, down here. And so over time, you'll have a curve that looks like this. There's always some initial drop-off. The reasons why people don't stay after the first use is, it wasn't worth it, had a bad experience, stuff like that. And then over time, what you want is, you want this to flatten out over time, so that your churn basically goes to 0%. That means you attrition out less and less users over time. And these over here kind of become your core customers. These are the ones that are sort of staying with you for a long time. And now cohort analysis, or using this as a way to show if you have sticky growth or not, is now say we're 1 year later and you've built a bunch of stuff, right? You graph out the same thing, and hopefully what you'll see is that you have a curve like this. That is, in the first period, even more people than 50% came back to you, and more people are sticking with you. A really bad retention curve looks like this, which is after the first use, they just hate you so much, no one even comes back. It's just 0, right? And I don't know what kind of business that is. I mean, it's obviously a shitty business, but I can't explain a good business that has a retention curve like that. So anyway, over time, as you are thinking of strategies to increase this curve, keep making it go up and up and up, you want to basically look at this analysis over time to see if that strategy is working for you. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, cool. The second kind of growth is viral growth. And like sticky growth, you need to also deliver a good experience. But on top of that, you need to deliver a really, really good experience. What's going to make these people shout out loud on Twitter and Facebook, whatever, and tell all their friends, email all their friends, family members about you. You have to really deliver a good experience. Combined with that is you need to have really good mechanics for the referral program itself. You have 100 customers who really want to talk about you. Now, how are they going to talk about you? So in that sense, the viral growth strategy is all really about, one, building a good experience. But if you have that, it's how do you build a good referral program. And so I've listed the 3 main parts of that. One is the customer touch points, which is where are people learning that they can refer other people. So that might be just after they book or after they sign up. There is a usually you see these right after you sign up. For whatever reason, most people just immediately tell you to invite other friends, even though you've never used the product before. And so, but that's a customer touch point. It's just right after you sign up. A better one is after they use the product after a while, and you see that they're highly engaged. Then to show them that link and get them to send it out to everyone. Another one is if you're doing more of a platform type play, like for HomeJoy, we actually go inside the homes. So another customer touch point is when the cleaning professionals inside the home, they can have a lead behind, and we can show them something there too as well. So you want to basically put the customer touch points and put the actual link or whatever it is, how they're going to refer other friends at a point in time when they're highly engaged and they're loving you. Second is program mechanics, and so that's sort of the most common thing I've seen is $10 or $10. That is, you get $10 if you invite your friend and they use it and they get $10. And so you should try different types of mechanics in that sense and try to optimize for whatever works for you. It could be 25 for 25, it could be 10 for 0, it could be many of these things. And lastly, it's when your friend clicks on the link on your referral link, when they come back to the site, it's very important to really optimize that conversion flow of how they're going to sign up. And so sometimes you need to just sell them in a different manner, or upsell that the friend has suggested they use this, and so on and so forth.
I will say I downfollowed the referral program though. So I used to have my referral program, so it was super easy to sign up. You could, at first I had it so anybody could join because I do want it to be a type of thing that anybody can join. But I had so many fucking random ass bitches signing up, putting me on these sites I don't want to fucking be on, putting me on things I don't agree with and shit. I had to shut that down. I had to shut that down and make it invite only. And it's not that I don't want it to be the thing that anybody can join or like that I wouldn't like let anybody into, but it's just like the wrong like I had to make it so like I offer it to people who are more in connection with me instead because you have you don't have control over where people are sharing your link when it's just anybody can do it. And I took it to the other extreme. I could have done a middle ground of where like I just don't accept everybody and I do interviews, but I'm not in a place where I want to put in that extra step of doing that interview process right now. So that is also something I'd recommend, at least having an interview process for your referral or affiliate team. Don't just accept anybody because you'll have people doing things you don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, for that's happened to me. So my advice, what I would like, I'm on invite only, and so if you want to join my affiliate program, you totally can hit me up. Because not that I want to make anybody feel excluded or not let anybody in. It's just that based on certain situations, I had to not just allow anybody in. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense. But all right, let's keep going.
So all these combined, you need to really play around with these on different dimensions and come up with a good referral program. And lastly, it's paid growth. So examples of paid growth is this right here. And these are the most obvious ones, but I'm sure you guys can think of more. And paid growth is basically, you happen to have money, you can spend, you might have credit cards, whatever, but you can spend something to get users. So the correct way to think about paid growth is that, okay, you're going to put money, you're going to risk.
Where she's talking about customer lifetime value and customer acquisition costs. Customer or CAC. CAC stands for customer acquisition costs, or your CAC. So in other contexts, you typically want a big cock, but in this context, you do not. Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. Fucking.
Putting money out there, what are you going to get in return? The simple way to think about it is your CLV, your customer lifetime, the amount of money, the net revenue, the amount of money that people, that your customer returns back to you, is it more than your CAC? And your CAC it's an abbreviation for customer acquisition cost. So an example is, you pay, actually the slide,
Oh yeah, and if you don't know, customer acquisition cost is just how much are you paying to get each customer. That's why the less you pay for each customer, the better for you because the more money you're making.
the slide here has an example here. So say you run a bunch of ads, you have 4 ads. Over 12 months, the customer is worth $300 to you. Each one of these ads, when you click on it, the CPC costs costs different types of money.
So CPC means cost per click. How much are you paying per click? Conversion rate is 10%. How many people who click convert? Cost per acquisition is how much you're paying to acquire each customer. Customer lifetime value is how much can you expect from each customer, or how much can you guess? You know what I'm saying? And so this is going to help you determine whether or not you're making a good doing this type of math will help you determine whether or not you're doing good numbers for your return on ad spend. You know what I'm saying?
And then when they click on the ad, then they have to come to your site and sign up or buy something. And the conversion rates are different for all these ads. And then the CAC is calculated simply by the CPC divided by the conversion. And so you see that there's different acquisition costs for different types of ads. And to determine whether that was a good ad or bad ad, all you have to do is CLV minus CAC, is it more than 0? If it's at 0, then that's fine. But hopefully it's actually more than 0, and so you actually are earning a profit on it. So we see that despite the CLVs being the same and the conversions being higher and lower, there's sometimes some ads that might seem good actually don't seem so good at the end of the day. Now, the advanced way of looking at it is this. You can look at this for your whole entire customer base, for all aggregating all your customers together. But the better way of looking at it is to break it down by customer segments. So, if you have, for example, if you're building a marketplace, I don't know, for country music, the CLVs of someone in Nashville, Tennessee is going to be much larger than the CLVs than lifetime value of someone in Czechoslovakia. So, or I just assume that's the case anyway. So you want to make sure that when you're buying ads for these.
I think this is going to be specific. So, if you are in Czechoslovakia, I cannot speak, I am so sorry. If you're actually in Czechoslovakia, then obviously like an ad in Czechoslovakia would perform really well. But what she means is if you're in one location and you're running an ad to another country, then the ad you run in your own country typically is going to perform better than the ad you run in other countries, typically, if that makes sense. because you typically are able to better market to the community that you understand and that you have the same culture as and the same ideology or perspective or education or background or commonalities or whatever with than with people who you don't know. Or your offer is more likely to apply to people who have those shared experiences than people who don't. Or, you know what I'm saying? Things like that.
Different types of cohorts or these types of customer segments that you know what the differences are, and that you don't want to mix like everything together. So the last point on payback time and sustainability, I think a lot of businesses get in trouble and it turns into a bad business when they start spending beyond their means, and it has a lot to do with risk tolerance or risk, how much risk.
That I'll say for sure too. A lot of people, they will spend more ads on what I call vanity metrics than actually trying to focus on profitable advertising that's going to get them a return on investment back. So a lot of people are more willing to spend $10,000 on PR to say that they've been featured in these big outlets than they're willing to invest in actually setting up a funnel so that they're going to be able to get a return on ad spend back to where they're going to be able to, increase their conversion rate and reduce their cost per click and their customer acquisition costs. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing. I love how, like, in this example, the customer acquisition cost was never reduced. So was there no funnel set up here? I'm just wondering.
Risk you're willing to take on. So when you look at these CLVs, let's just suppose, you get a customer for $300, a customer's worth $300 after 12 months. That is, in the first month, they're worth $100. If you wait to the end of the 12-month period, then they give you that other $200. But if in the first period you're actually paying, $200 for them, then you're in the hole for $100 until the end of the 12-month period. And that's when you start getting into potentially unsustainable growth, which is something could happen where, at the end of the 12 months, you don't actually get the $200 from the customer, and you end up in a very bad situation. And essentially just at the end of the day, you could be running out of money. And if you're doing this with credit cards, you will definitely find that you're going to have to, declare bankruptcy very soon. So again, payback time is very important. A safe one to go with is 3 months. If you have very high risk, if you're very risk loving, maybe 12 months is better. Beyond 12 months is very much an unsafe territory. Okay.
Another thing, going back to their advertising, we're at 4619 here, or going back to this thing, where they have this ad here with the higher cost per click at $100. You see these costs per clicks. Here's how I make sure I don't spend more money than I can afford. I do the math to say, okay, if, for example, I do the math to say I need to hit a 4-to-1 return on ad spend. I know if I get a minimum 1% conversion rate, 1 out of 100 people buy, what is the number I need to hit for my cost per click in order to get a 4-to-1 return on ad spend? And that's what I set my cost per click to be. So that's how where I set my baseline and then I slowly raise it. And then I keep an eye on it. That's how I make sure that I'm not spending more on my customer acquisition costs than I'm going to be able to make back in my customer lifetime costs. You know what I'm saying? Or even in my immediate return on ad spend. And so that's something else y'all can marinate on too. Okay. So we were right here.
How much time do we have? 5 minutes. Okay. So I'll just go into this. So the art of pivoting. So a lot of people ask me, HomeJoy in its current concept was literally the 13th idea we fully built out and tried to execute on, tried to get customers for. And so a lot of the questions I get is, how did you even get to that 13th idea? And how did you decide when to move on? And so the best guidance I can give on that is to kind of look at these 3 criteria, which is once you realize you can't grow, or once you realize, despite building out all these great features and talking to all these users, none of them stick, or none of them, you don't have any good high retaining users, or the economics of the business just doesn't make sense, then once you make that realization, you just need to move on. And I think the trickiest one is probably the growth one, because there's so many stories out there where a founder stuck with the idea and then after 3 years, all of a sudden it started growing. So the trick here is basically what you really should do is you should have a growth plan when you start out, which is, you should ideally just have what is an optimistic but realistic way to grow this business. And so it might look something like this. And this is the number of users. So in week 1 you just want 1 user. In week 2 you want maybe 2 users, and so on and so forth. And you can keep building up and up. So in week 1, you should basically do as much as possible, build what you have to build to get that one user. And then week 2, so on and so forth, you build whatever you need to get 2 users, 4 users, 8 users. In the beginning, it should be fairly, if you have a product that people actually want, you should be able to maintain this growth curve pretty easily just by walking around and manually finding people. It's when you get to like, you need 100 users a week where you need some of these you need these growth strategies to start working. And so what I tell people is usually, if you're fully executing on your product and you're really working really, really hard, then if you go 3 or 4 weeks in a row of no growth, backwards growth, then it's time to maybe consider a pivot in the sense that not starting over, like completely come up with a new idea, but you're probably fundamentally doing something wrong because in that early stage of a startup, you should always be growing. And so it's not.
Now, I would disagree with this. I think some reasons that startups can fail is a lot of people feel this push to be growing as fast as possible. And then they fail because they were growing and then they burned out and they weren't able to catch certain issues because they were so focused on that because of this narrative that if you're not growing, you're failing. But it's actually okay for there to be stagnant times in business. And if you've set yourself up in a sustainable way, then that doesn't mean you're going to fail. You know what I'm saying? That happens. You should actually be able to, the best businesses, in my opinion, are able to withstand and wither through the ebbs and flows of business. You know what I mean? Because there's always going to be downturns and upturns and changes in the economy and different things that happen where you're going to have to be able to adapt. And so people who are able to adapt and who are able to continue going, even if they have time periods of being stagnant in their growth, are the ones who are going to be able to keep going, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just because you have time periods where you're not focused on rapid profit doesn't mean you're not going to be doing well as a business. I think when people put more effort on short-term profit instead of long-term sustainability, that's when they find themselves in fucked up situations because of this pressure. Now, on another level, there is a point to be made where when you're starting up in business, you don't have the capital to be stagnant. You have to work every day, or you're not going to be able to keep going because you have to make a certain amount of money to keep going. But if you can get, if you can meet that, then you don't have to focus on rapid growth. You can, long-term growth is better. Long-term sustainability, in my opinion, is a better focus than short-term profit, short-term growth. But because of task management, life can be very overwhelming if you think of everything you need to do all at once. So it is good to think of short-term growth by breaking down your long-term growth into the short-term steps, but don't focus on short-term growth and profits over long-term growth. I can't speak. You know what I mean, right? Okay.
This is optimistically what it looks like, and this is like kind of the growth curve I set forth and put out when I started HomeJoy. But really, what it looks like is like this. And so you want to make sure that when you're in a lull, like over here, that you don't just stop, right? And that's why you should wait 2 to 3 weeks. As long as you keep working hard, you'll eventually get back here and you'll see a trend like this over time. Cool. So that's pivoting, and that's it. I can take questions at this point.
One question.
Yeah. One question.
So one question online was if your users have a product that they're already somewhat comfortable with, how do you get them to switch to yours?
Right. So there's always a switchover cost. I'll tell you the example of HomeJoy. So HomeJoy, we actually were creating a new market in the sense that a lot of our initial users never had cleanings before, so it was pretty simple to get them on board. And a lot of people who have cleaners already really trust their cleaner, and they would, to get them to come and use something else is actually probably the most difficult task in the world. And so when you're building things and trying to get people to switch over to you, what you really need to do is find the moments where your product or what you're offering is much better or very much differentiated from the existing solution they have. So an example is someone who had a regular cleaner, and maybe they had a party one day and they needed a cleaning almost the next day. And because HomeJoy in most of the areas has next day availability, they would just come to HomeJoy and use it because they knew they couldn't get the regular cleaner. And once they start using the product, then that's when they start realizing the little advantages of using HomeJoy, which adds up to a big advantage. So, a lot of things are, realizing that, leaving cash out or leaving checks was really annoying, and so being able to do online payments was more convenient. Being able to book, cancel, reschedule, according to your own schedule was very convenient, and so on and so forth. And so it's just, it's really hard to, a lot of people, when they build a product, are like, and these 50 things are a little bit better than the existing solution. It's really hard, even if the benefits outweigh the switchover cost, it's really hard to actually tell that to a user and try to get them to aggregate all those, benefits over many little things. It's better to just have 1 or 2 things that clearly differentiate yourself from the product. So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, fucking that concludes the first lecture there. I feel like there are things that I feel like she explained in a very technical way, but then again, this was a lecture to a college class who I'm assuming they were in classes related to some of that material, or they didn't ask the questions if they didn't understand. But whatever, fuck it, they can Google it. But anyway, so there are things that about her lecture where I felt like I would have worded things in a less technical way, so that way, like on a certain level, I think it is important to when you're discussing the marketing to discuss the technicalities, because you need to educate people on what they're going to be engaging with so they understand fully what is happening. But then on another level, where if you're not able to break down those terms if you're not able to also discuss it in a way that is simple to understand, are you able to fully understand it yourself? You know what I mean? And maybe marketing like isn't her strong suit. So where it came to those technicalities, that just wasn't her strong suit on explaining it, because she's just more used to, following along. But those would be like things where I would have shifted. But overall, like I had certain things where like, I would have said, felt a little bit different here or there. But I really do feel like this is a good lecture for helping people consider like what are things they need to take in consideration when building their products, with how are they going to go into growth stages and talking to users. And the part where she was connecting viral growth to organic and paid growth was something that I really enjoyed myself, because in marketing we often are seeing a lot of people go viral, particularly on social media, but they don't have the systems in place for long-term sales or sustainability or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like seeing her connect all of that, I think is something that I think could be helpful for just anybody. Um, so yeah, today in conclusion, wrapping everything all up, fucking what we've talked about, we started off with where Raylee Rukavina shared the legal update so far. And so she did not fully answer the question of if a lawsuit was going to happen, but she did provide an update to say there has been no refund issued, the dress has not been returned, there's been no communication, but there was a cease and desist. And so I am assuming maybe Raylee Rukavina just sent the cease and desist herself, like Casze sent me. But I said ceased and desist. Whatever. Fucking captioner's not getting that right. Fuck it. Sorry. Where it said cease and desist, I don't know what the fuck that was. Anyway, whatever. But okay, I'm assuming that Rayleigh actually got a fucking actual attorney to send the cease and desist letter instead of just doing the bullshit that Casze did to me. You know what I'm saying? But so we know that that happened. But other than that, I don't know if there is or isn't an actual lawsuit happening, because on one level, she never actually did say there was or wasn't. On another level, though, like I didn't feel like she was giving the type of an update someone who did have representation would be giving. Like if I don't know, but then part of it was like, well, I could see if you had representation, you wouldn't be sharing the legal update fully if you were advised not to. You know what I'm saying? But then on another level, when you're talking about how nothing else is happening, um, that makes me wonder if nothing else is going to happen. You know what I mean? So I actually really couldn't tell what's going to happen with that legal update. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're here now. Fucking, and then after that, I had some thoughts on PR and reputation management as it relates to Rayleigh and Casze, but I really wanted to focus more on Casze, and so we discussed a bit PR business improvement plan for Casze on what I think Casze could do to realistically correct and rectify the harm done in this situation, in my opinion. And how I think she could really turn it around for herself as a business owner. And then after that, we finished up with some commentary and reaction to our 4th lecture from the Stanford How to Start a Startup playlist. And this one was on building product, talking to users, and growing from Adora Cheung. I don't think I said that right. I'm so sorry. But yeah. Oh shit, you know what I just realized? Bro, I never fucking did an ad for my twin. I keep forgetting too. Like, I keep forgetting. So this live stream is also brought to us by Monkey Monkey Coffee Shop, New Orleans. I really need to do a better job at like integrating these sponsorships and advertisements into this, because it's like, I don't know, I'll work on it. I'm over here like, yeah, I do marketing, but I suck at promoting this shit. I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? But yeah, so Monkey Monkey is owned by my twin sister here in New Orleans. Come for coffee, come check them out. But yeah, so, whoops, totally forgot to play that earlier. Um, yeah, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. Um, if there aren't any updates that happened on the Raylee Casze situation, we'll totally let you know. If any legal updates happen with the whole situation between me and Casze, we'll totally let you know. Shit, while I'm at it, maybe I should just, real quick, while we are here before we sign up, I will go take a look to see if there are any new posts real quick. I am looking at Raylee's page right now. Looks like Raylee's posted the wedding gown stuff. I haven't covered that because fuck it, I'm just covering the situation. Doesn't look like another post. Let's see, Casze. Anything from Casze? Yeah, I'm waiting for this thing to load. Doesn't look like she posted anything else. And then let's check the Sandera page. On her personal TikTok, let me see if she shared anything here. Nope. Not about the dress. Looks like just some Halloween shit. Okie dokie. Yeah. Alrighty. Just checking real quick before we go if there's any updates. Didn't look like there was. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. Yeah, bye. Thanks for watching. Join the loyalty program at noladechow.com/loyalty and check in during live streams to get points for rewards.